Hello, everybody. You should be able to hear me now. I don't like YouTube. I like Twitch. I don't like YouTube. Back in with another weekly, and I've got a pretty sly thing to hit you with. I'm going to switch it up a little bit and answer some questions at the top of this because I think they're important to talk through. Because they came through and I want to make sure I speak to it so people fully understand kind of where I'm coming from and why I'm different than all the other ones out there. Because as I've said, I'm not a YouTuber, I'm a podcaster. YouTube show is simply an extension of the podcast. As such, there are some things that apply to me that don't apply to others. And they're important that you know so that you kind of wrap around how the channel is different. So you can make a decision about whether it's what you want to do. Of course, boom. I got some wiring to do, but my sign is in and it's actually larger than it appears, but that's because of how far away I am from the wall. And that's a real wall, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to answer some questions up front. I didn't do this before, but I will here. A question I got was, the YouTube side, I don't do ads on the YouTube side. I don't do the subscription. I don't do the tips. I don't really ask you to like or subscribe. I don't ask any of that. I don't do any of the money collect strategies on the YouTube side. And on the podcast side at cryptotalkradio.net, I do not run ads. There's nothing from monetization on anything that I do. And people were curious, well, you got this burn that you're doing. How are you affording that? You're not running anything that makes any money. That's the point, ladies and gentlemen, is I actually do not do things to run money or generate money or collect money other than the triad. And the triad is a different beast. I'll get to it in a second. But the truth is, this is not my full-time job. It was not intended to be my full-time job. It was not intended to be a career. It is essentially a hobby. It's something I enjoy doing because I'm in it. So I might as well communicate as with other people who are also in it, who believe like I do, not the kids that say the word Jeet and say the word keck. We're talking serious people that understand that if we don't do better than what we've been doing, we're going to run into a bad situation in the future. And so that's how I kind of figured this all out, is I just want to chat with folks, right? But also, I figured I have knowledge and experience I can share that may help other people stay safe. So given this, it's basically an expense for me. And I'm okay with that because that's the whole point behind the LUNChallenge, is to expose the business in ever such a slight way that a person who does not make money off their YouTube channel, a person who does not make money off their podcast really, is able to burn their LUNA Classic. And why can't people who make thousands of dollars off their freaking channel, if they're really part of the community, contribute to what's going on? Because you got to think, right? There's certainly a lot of supply out there and the burn's going to take a while. We're not talking something that's going to be overnight or quick or any of that. Certainly not as long as regular people are not contributing to it. SHIB had the same problem. SHIB basically got to the point where everybody was hold. Then they released the SHIB burn that was built by incompetence in the Ryoshi's vision, and hardly nobody contributed. And I gave the calculation on a different situation showing that this would take forever. It'll take forever to get to a point where this is going to be any kind of significant difference. And I think it's a waste of time. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't do something. I'm saying that it's a waste of time because you took too damn long. With LUNA Classic, we're still kind of early-ish. So if you're really a strong community, and this is an indictment really to the community, if you're a strong community, you should want to contribute to the strength of the community, even if it means coming out of your own pocket, if you're really part of the community. Now, if you're one of those who's just like, I'm just going to hold and wait, I celebrate you, I respect you, no problem. If you're one of those who's just going to buy off dips, no problem, right? We'll talk about that here in a second. I have no problem with strategy. I'm saying that if you're going to present as community, community also means that you are a contributing member of said community. Contributing, even if only a small bit. I saw this burn a lot hashtag floating around and nobody jumped in on that because for what? They don't want to do it. That's what I'm trying to expose with the LUNChallenge. They don't want to do it. They don't want to burn of themselves. They want to just collect. They want to get paid. They don't want to burn of themselves. So I do not this is not my job. I don't make money off of anything that I'm doing that you see here. I don't. So given that, I said the LUNChallenge is the perfect opportunity to expose the business and say, if I'm the only one who's going to be out there burning, then I'll burn. The wallet address is posted on the Twitter. Twitter's down there. You can go to the Twitter profile and you can see the wallet address on Terra and see for yourself that no, indeed, there was some burn sent to the burn wallet. We'll be doing another burn I'm going to announce here shortly, but I want to get that out of the way that this is not my job. This is not what I do. What I do for a living is completely separate and distinct from this and has to do with, I run my own business, essentially, actually multiple businesses. And so that's my real, that's where the money, that's where the magic happens, as it was, right? So given this, I figured I would try to put some numbers around this. So right now, we're talking the endeavors that I talked about on the podcast. I have roughly about, as it stands, about $1,000 worth of expense. I'm talking just to make my various endeavors work, plus the podcast, plus what we're doing with the triad, plus the other 2 podcasts, plus what you see today. Everything to make all this work is about $1,000 worth of nothing more than just expenses. We're talking raw expenses. Now, are they tax deductible? To some degree, yes. To some degree, no. Point is about $1,000 every month of raw expenses. With the triad, I don't make anywhere near that much per month because I purposely built the triad memberships to be largely inexpensive. And the only reason there's even a charge to the triad is because serious people have to have skin in the game. This is business 101. When you give crap away for free or whatever, you're devaluing your product. So you got to have something. You got to have a skin in the game. You got to have an ask. In return, you got to have value in what you give for that money. So let's take Peacock, which at one point was WWE Network for the most part. I don't subscribe. I never subscribed to the WWE Network except when it was free when it first launched. I've never paid for it because I think it's garbage because it devalues the product. I would actually rather we still be in the world of pay-per-view. And you're like, why? Because when you have the pay-per-view, you're generating enough money to actually pay the people who are entertaining you on the screen, which might contribute to a better product. Because right now it's garbage, right? So that's why I haven't watched it in years, almost a decade now, because it's garbage. It's nowhere near what it should be because they devalued the product. So they decided to dumb it down. I said, no, I don't want to put out that it's extremely expensive, but at the same time, I want value out of the product. So I built Triad. Triad's then price tier is low over here, but you still get significant value out of it. And it's only got a price because you got to have skin in the game. Could I have done a Patreon? Sure, but Patreon requires that you have traffic. Patreon requires that you are getting people on board with this business. So you don't really have control. In Triad, I have total control. Nobody kicks me off my business. Nobody dictates to me what it has to be. Nobody dictates how many people have to be subscribed. Nobody dictates my pricing. I control it start to finish. In return, I can give significant value. So I don't make anywhere near today $1,000 a month on the Triad. However, I spend $1,000 a month, and some of that goes towards the benefit of the podcast and the show that you see. Here's where that's the exposure comes in. If I'm at the point where I have so much expense and yet I can do the Luna burn, that means they could do the Luna burn when they make thousands on their channel and it's their primary business. They could do it. They don't want to do it. That's the exposed part. And I'm happy to expose that because I believe that all of us have to step up and just expose the business and say, who's really about it, man? Who's really just all out for themselves versus trying to enrich other people? My Triad members, pretty much to a T, said, because I explained this to them on our private video. They said, you need to tell the world this because the world needs to hear what you just said. So I'm going to here at the front, and then we'll get into our stuff here. I'm going to break down what I told my Triad members in summary. What I told my Triad members in summary is that the whole reason I created Triad was I wanted to create the best possible community, what community really could and should be. I wanted to create a community of people, like-minded people, not the kids say the word Jeet and say the word Keck. We're talking like-minded people who are serious about their investments, who don't want to hear the garbage. One of them even said, I can't even stand going to Telescam anymore because now I see the difference in experience. I'm calmer, I'm more peaceful, I'm more at ease with my investments. I can trust a little bit better. And the coverage that we did, like with ETHJets, which I think is a killer project right now, and possibly set to go to amazing places if they stay on track. I covered HODL token. They're working hard. I've covered these ones where it's like there's a total different vibe with the way that we've done coverage and the way that we've approached things and the communication that we give. You've never heard me on any of my YouTube episodes ever asking for subscribes, asking for likes, except the one time I needed to test that you could freaking hear me because YouTube was jacking up again. Other than that, you've never heard me ask for either of those. You've never asked for the notification bell. People did it on their own. I've never asked. You can go check the videos. I've never asked for any of these. Never needed to, because the YouTube channel is not a source of profit. The YouTube channel is a source of communication. The YouTube channel is designed for me to have a different show under Crypto Talk Radio, the brand. It is an extension of the podcast. It's a different show, no different than, Jim Cornette, and he has his little snippets on YouTube, and the full is on the podcast. Mine simply happens to be the reverse. The podcast is really a different set of information than the YouTube channel, but they pretty much do the same thing to different audiences. Then I learned recently BitChute. The community on BitChute is starting to grow. I've not done anything heavily on the BitChute side, but I need to embrace them as part of the community because they chose to subscribe over there. So now I need to engage and treat them as part of the community. This is where cryptocurrencies suck. This is where they all suck. I'll say it, all of them suck. They don't know how to embrace community. And Triad was my attempt to try to prove how it's supposed to be done under an umbrella concept where it has a reward aspect to it for being a full-on paid member. But even if you're not, it is also embracing all the different aspects of it. We're on all the different podcast platforms, every last one of them at this point. I'm pretty sure except Pandora. Pandora is the only platform, and that's because they're garbage. We have BitChute, we have Odyssey, we have YouTube, we have Twitch, and just video platforms. We have TikTok. There are followers on each and every one of those, right? There's a reality check that people are going to go where they're going to go. Some people will go to Twitter. We have a Facebook account. I don't hardly use it, but we publish messages to it. Turns out there's a following growing over there. I need to embrace those. I need to embrace where everybody happens to be, because it doesn't matter where they choose to be. They're going to go where they're going to go. I have to embrace them all because that's where they are comfortable. That's how you treat community. Would I enjoy all of them to join us in our Discord channel? Absolutely. But I understand some people simply aren't going to do that. That's the difference that I was trying to prove between the way I do things and the way every other crypto does it, where they just force you to Telescam, which nobody in the US really uses, and it's garbage. No, I'm not going to force you to go to Telescam. I'm not going to force you to go to the Discord. The Discord has a lot of information. Pretty much all the information in the Discord is readily accessible through our site, cryptotalkradio.net. That's the point. We also have links from cryptotalkradio.net to all of our different platforms. Every last one of them, cryptotalkradio.net/something, will likely take you to one of our platforms. cryptotalkradio.net/YouTube/BitChute/Odyssey/Twitch/Twitter, all of them built. Why? Because I understand they're all everywhere. That was the thought. However, I had to take it a step further. I couldn't be just satisfied with that. I couldn't just be satisfied with embrace. I also had to show up. By show up, I don't mean physically. I mean show up by delivery, practicing what I preach. So I saw a pattern, and it's I understand it is what it is, right? Somebody builds a community. I was just watching Happy Caddy Crypto. I totally recommend his channel, by the way. I think he's a great person. The way he does coverage, he's natural. He doesn't do cut editing. He doesn't do fancy gimmicks. He doesn't do the loud audio. He actually makes mistakes as he speaks, it makes you realize you're talking to a real person. Like that, to me, is irreplaceable, invaluable. It resonates I'm talking to a real person, not a robot, and certainly not somebody who's practiced, and certainly not somebody reading off a script. I might sound like I'm reading off a script. I'm not reading off a script. I don't need to. I'm never scripted. I'm a podcaster. Thus, I must have delivery of messaging. Happy Caddy Crypto is not a podcaster. So he is not expected to be able to deliver as well as I can. I don't expect him to. I actually find it appealing because it means I'm talking to a real person, right? So then listening to his, and he told the story that, he had an injury and he was hurt and he's gotten past it and he's in recovery, and it's this great story. And he's aligned with the Lung Penguins and he does basic coverage, but he'll do the analysis best he sees. And I noticed in his, he has the tip. So like you can, on YouTube, you can have people on your chat and they can tip you or give you a bomb, as they call it, I guess. You can have subscribers in YouTube, which YouTube promotes. You can have all this stuff designed to generate money, or you can do like Patreon, and that's the thing some people will do, or like some people on Twitch itself. Twitch is a different beast because a lot of that's like gamer girls, right? I'm not going to go deep in that. Point is, and then of course they get money for what they do, and so all of these have these gimmicks of collecting money, which is around the person. It's around the person, not necessarily the content. They're rewarding the person. They're rewarding their fans, right? Like OnlyFans. They're rewarding their fans of the person, and so they're rewarding the person. Well, I don't want that. It's not about me. It's about what I want is, no, he said this was going to happen and he gave it. I see it's the truth. And so I'm going to go back and give him his credit. That's it. And I'm going to spread the word. Man, if you want the truth, you need to go to this guy. He's going to tell you like it is. Aaron Neville, 1964. That's what I want. So I don't want to turn on the ads and all the stuff. Could I? Sure. I don't want to. It doesn't make any sense for me because, again, I'm not a YouTuber. Well, no problem. But then brings me right back to the LUNChallenge. Yes. Because as I don't make money off the YouTube channel, and I don't make money off Twitch, even though I'm on it, and I don't make money off of BitChute, I don't make money off of Twitter, I don't make money off Patreon, and I don't have profit off Triad by design. Well, if you got $1,000 of expenses, how the heck are you paying for this? And it's out of pocket because my endeavor, just to put in perspective why I don't need to do these things, my endeavor, I have 3 of them now. Signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. 2 of them are active starting Monday. The second one's going to be paying full throttle. It's a weekly check I receive. The first one is roughly 1 check a month, which pisses me off, but it's whatever for now. So, and between the first two, I'll even say the first one. With the first one, I make more money than anybody who's not in IT. When you add the second one, I make more money than probably 80% of the United States population. Then you add the third, and it's just like game, set, match. I make so much money on my side endeavor, I don't need to charge people for the privilege of coming to watch my show or listen to me. That's not the point. I'd rather just treat you all like community, welcome you in, talk to you as peers, because you're essentially peers. We're all in it together. So I don't want to charge you. I don't want to throw a bill at you. No. On the Triad, it's different because that's the next level. I have to charge because if I don't, I get the kids who say the word "jeet" thrown in it. That's the problem with every other community. They get the garbage because they don't charge for it. It's all about, let's fucking go to the moon, doop, doop, doop. No, I'm not doing that. I had to put a charge to filter out the noise. In exchange, I have to have a level of benefits that makes it worth what you pay. And I would argue all of them have significant benefits, bar none, above everybody else in the business right now, especially the Radiance tier. I guarantee you, anybody who goes to cryptotalkradio.net and hits Triad and looks at what I offer in the benefit tiers will see that there's nobody offering anywhere close for the prices I offer, because I'm not trying to get enriched off the people in cryptocurrency. That's not the point. I already make enough freaking money. I don't have to do this. I choose to do this. I want to do this. It is essentially a hobby for me. And I feel I have the gift of gab, the gift of voice. I'd rather share and lend all my experience, technical and otherwise, business, financial, audit. I'd rather share that experience and help other people, because no matter what, knowledge should be paid forward. Long after we're gone, we should be able to contribute that and help keep people safe. And hopefully we're starting to see with cryptocurrency, we're going into a different world. And that was my thought. And that's why I do the LUNChallenge essentially out of pocket, because it's as Virgil from WWF would say, it's F money to me. I don't mind. the challenge for everybody hitting my channel, and I just learned that YouTube is starting to really recommend my channel more than other people. The challenge for people hitting my channel is the more that come and sit and listen, the more that interact, and I'm talking just simply send a comment or whatnot, but the more that sit and listen, the more it gets burned. And now people can test me and see just how far am I willing to go, because for me, it's all F money. I don't make money off this. That's not the point. So that's why I don't charge, because I don't need to. It's not for me to make money. I'm here because I want to be, not because I'm trying to get rich off the people who choose to watch my show or not. And I want to appreciate YouTube for finally, it took long enough, finally actively trying to recommend my channels, because I think they're starting to see from the analytics, nobody's doing it like mine. From the closed captioning quality, from the audio quality now, from the video quality now, from the accurate thumbnails and not the garbage. I think people are starting to see. And then it's up to you guys. It's up to you to decide whether it's worth your time or not. Let's get into some fun stuff now, starting up front with the price of Ethereum. And I'm targeting Ethereum because I'm repeating, because I will repeat every episode. As I've said, if Ethereum goes beneath the $900, I will do live karaoke on the show. And trust me, yeah, if I do live karaoke, I'll probably get a record deal. So I'm just warning you, you don't want me to take my shirt off if I start singing. I'm just telling you, I'm that confident it's not going to go 900. Not again. I think it was a blip. I don't think it's going to go very much further down. It is in a somewhat sideways trend, but it appears to be in a slight recovery mode. So if you zoom out ever slightly, looks like it's trying to go back up. So it maybe trying to test and see what it wants to do or whether it's going to go further down. Nobody really knows. I'm still on record. I don't think it's going to go as far down as it did. Might go a little bit further. It depends. I actually have an article here in a little bit where I'm going to talk about what I think is happening with Ethereum and why I believe it's somewhat of a fake out, faking the funk, as the kids like to say. So I actually had another topic. It was not part of my list, but I figured I would go ahead and throw it in here because it's a little bit apropos. I'm going to get to that one. Let me give you an update on where we're at just to refresh with the LUNChallenge. So this is the breakout of what involves the LUNChallenge and how it's calculated. Currently, what we're talking about for this burn based on last week's deal, it's just shortly over $12. So I'm going to be sending that across. If you want to hold me accountable, again, Twitter channel profile, you will see the address for the Terra wallet where you can see where I send that amount over to the burn wallet and prove it out. But I think it's just shortly over $12 or some odd, mostly because we had a shorter episode last week. So sometimes it'll be a longer episode, sometimes it'll be a shorter. And as you notice, watch time is the bulk of the amount that's going in there. All you have to do is be here. I don't ask for anything else, and I will do my part at least to contribute to the burn going forward. Now, there's some weird things happening in the industry right now that I would like to talk about. First of all, this whole concept of a digital currency from the United States government, them having a stable coin of their own, ostensibly to replace the United States dollar. You've heard the chatter over and over again, keeps going back and forth. Gary Gensler talking about one thing. Well, the board at the Federal Board of Governors, which is a whole different thing, these people are not on the same page. On one side, they say we need to do this and it would solve all our problems if we just did that and it's duly noted and we'll record everybody's money and we'll know what you have and we can take your money whenever we feel like it, like we can't do with paper. There's that side. Then there's the side that says, I don't think this is the right answer. I don't think we're going to make a difference here. I don't think that we're going to fix anything by doing this. So this Christopher Waller dude, he's one of the board of governors for the Fed, basically just said, look, if you do that, that's cool. It's not going to fix the problems with the US dollar. It's not. All it's doing is, yes, we might be able to improve some processes because there is some inefficiency in the transfer of paper. The transfer of paper, I'm talking fiat. The process is essentially right now the banks have stashes of fiat available. You can go to the bank, you can go to a store, right, and get cash back or change if you gave. The paper ultimately is that you have to request it. So they have to request cash, the banks, to have it on hand The stores have to request cash for cash on hand. Different companies have to request cash for petty cash transactions, like a treasurer at the government offices. So when you go in and you pay a tax bill or something, you can pay in cash in some cases you cannot. So cash, the paper fiat, still has to flow. It has to move from A to B, and there's a destruction requirement as paper gets to the point where it's no longer, you have to destroy it. It's just not usable. There's all this inefficiency. And so he's saying that, yes, there is some efficiency gains. There's some optimizations that could happen. We can fix, I'll get to that in a second, how ACH works, because right now ACH is a somewhat inefficient process, but that's mostly because of regulation, not because of limitations. So there's this, there's wire transfers and the fees of wire transfers. Wire transfers fix the issues with ACH, but every bank charges for it, which makes it a ripoff. So he's saying that, yes, we could streamline some stuff, but it's not going to fix the inherent flaws of our financial system. Fraud, theft, quote, fraud, theft, money laundering, financing of terrorism. I talked about it on one of the previous, where they said, the US government said, yeah, Russia's not going to use crypto to fund the war, deep. And then that's exactly what they did. And they're like, oh, crap, we better get in and do something, because they all just talk, right? Fraud. This person says it's not going to solve fraud. It cannot solve fraud because fraud is an independent process. Fiat currency of any kind is simply a byproduct. It's simply a means to an end. It is not something that you can stop by simply changing the nature of the currency. That doesn't make any sense. It's not going to stop theft of, because you can always steal somebody's wallet. You can steal somebody's address. There are inherent ways that somebody can get access to your money if they want. And of course, if anything, money laundering will probably get easier if you do a digital coin. What Gary Gensler was talking about is the idea, well, we'll know who you are and we'll know what money you have, and we'll know, definitives of who has what token, because it's all, blockchain now. Yes, that's true. It doesn't stop money laundering, right? Because at some point, that token can be transferred to something else and transferred to something else and transferred to something else. And at some point, you are going to be able to obfuscate, as in mask or somehow hide, exactly who got what. You can't stop that. So changing over to a digital currency is not going to really fix the underlying issues that we have around money, general money. Doesn't believe that it's going to solve anything that we have in terms of our foreign partners and the exchange and the value comparison that we have right now with the US dollar to other currencies. Doesn't solve anything else. So summary, the United States government, I only speak to them, they're not on the same page with what to do. Because they're not on the same page with what to do, it creates this turmoil in cryptocurrency, because people are waiting for them to, look, just make a decision and tell us so we know what we're doing, right? All the different companies that do, like the exchanges, it's like, just give us some regulations so we know what to do. This is a natural thing that was going to happen, which is they don't do that. They don't act quick. They don't go forward. That means in cryptocurrency, we can't be held back by their nonsense. You have to just simply do what you're doing and not wait for the garbage, because that's not the way they work. They don't make quick decisions, and they're not going to. Certainly not with the current administration that's in office right now, because if they had their way, they would ban cryptocurrency. I just covered that on one of the weeklies where they straight up said, yeah, we should have banned it. It's too late now, but we're trying. They're trying. It's the horse left the barn. So now they're trying to figure out creative ways around it. This is one of those ways. Well, if you get rid of the paper dollar and go with this digital coin and then ban all of the stable coins, that means all roads lead to us. That's the start of trying to lock down cryptocurrency. That's the only reason you would do it, because there's no other reason to do it otherwise, because you could simply regulate every other stable coin and lay down the law. You better have a US dollar for every single one of these tokens you issue, period, and leave it at that. And that will be perfectly fine, because then it's going to flush out the garbage. The reason that they're going with this one is they want to control the cryptocurrency flow. Okay, that means that people like you and I have to make smarter decisions about what we give our money to and what we don't, or we have to let these people run the roost. That's all that's left over. So speaking now about this whole business of government intervention, the Office of Foreign Assets Control, I talked about in one of my episodes in the past. The Office of Foreign Assets Control, there was a theory that with Ethereum going to proof of stake, that it was going to create inroads and problems for Ethereum and privacy and everything else, to where, okay, was this a game? What happened here? And I said, and I still maintain, that the idiot Vitalik may be a puppet for the United States government, where they're using him to influence the push towards proof of stake, because it may open the doors. That's the Gary Gensler SEC statement, open the doors for them to start locking down cryptocurrency and getting better control over this business. The whole Tornado Cash fiasco was the first start of getting rid of whatever would be able to hide some of this transaction. The OFAC then has on their site, you can go to their site and you can see it, there's a list of different addresses that are blacklisted, and they're getting involved where they're trying to get control over money that they think is illicit, right? Or being moved to illicit destinations. So there was some stats run, and they found censorship in the Ethereum chain, and it's higher than it's ever been. This is after the proof of stake transaction. So it's not specific to Ethereum. I believe it's specific to proof of stake itself relative to Ethereum, because the United States government sees that Ethereum is pretty much running the roost right now. And so it's the easiest target. If you deal with Ethereum, you deal with 80% of what's out there. To understand OFAC, if you're not in the United States, OFAC's, their mission was, at least at one point, their mission was to look for any transactions, financial transactions, that were used for illicit gains, either to or from foreign entities. The movement of money, whether that's to fund a foreign war or fund terrorism or something else that they think is foreign in nature. They actually got in trouble many years ago because they were simply going off of people's last names. So if you had like a Indian last name, or, or you came from, let's say you came from Iran, right? And but you're a national citizen, US national, but you came from Iran, you had a last name that was similar or the same as somebody else that was a terrorist, they would put you on some lists, and you had to go through hoops to clear who you were, because it's all assumptive. That's what we're talking about here as, okay, here's what we're seeing, OFAC, when we say we, here's what we're seeing that's happening over Ethereum, and we have some censorship in front of these where it's related to something that we think is an illicit transaction. This should concern people. I think it should concern people. But what then the flip of this is, when this starts, is you start seeing blocks that are basically duly noted, let's say reviewed and signed off and approved, and yes, this looks good, by OFAC. Well, that contradicts the whole spirit. And when you hear people talk about decentralized finance, privacy, right, all these different terms that don't mean a jack, and I talked about it, you should not want a world where any blockchain is accepted, right, by OFAC or any other government agency. Because if you have that, essentially you have a form of regulation that's not written regulation. You have a form of regulation that's been imposed upon you. I'm not trying to tinfoil you. I'm telling you that you got to ask the question, how is OFAC approving blocks on the blockchain? How are they approving it? They'd have to review the blocks. They'd have to review the sender. They'd have to review the destination, and then make a decision based on data they wouldn't have had unless if they were already on the inside. So let's say that it was something that went from a central exchange to somebody's private wallet. Well, that means the central exchange had to give the government enough information for them to review it. Then the government takes that, they look at the wallet, they scan that wallet's transactions, and then they make a decision that they're okay with that as a recipient. So picture your brother or sister or something wants to send you some cryptocurrency from, I don't know, Coinbase. And they're going to send it to your wallet, and it's a gift for Christmas. What we're saying here is that, okay, well, first, Coinbase, I see you sent this transaction, it's over this amount. And in this case, they may not have cared about amount. I see you sent that transaction. I want more data about that sender. So they get all this data because of KYC around your brother or sister. Okay, so I know who they are. Okay, fine. Sent to this wallet. Okay, we take that wallet, we plug it into all blockchains. We try to figure out, okay, it was sent over ERC20. So we're going to check Ethereum. And okay, we see, wait a minute, that token over there, I remember that token. That token was caught up in a scam and it was used in Tornado Cash. And wait a minute, this was sent over here through Tornado Cash and we don't like that. So we're going to blacklist that transaction and add it to some list for later scrubbing. This is what I'm talking about. I personally believe you should not want this because it bodes very badly for cryptocurrency in general when they have to duly note transactions through blockchain. Now it's public, so is there anything that stops them? No. I'm saying that by them doing it, it's a imposed form of regulation instead of a written form of regulation, which I believe is a slippery slope in my mind. Personal opinion. Anyway, so that's what this was talking about was, well, wait a minute. We're seeing censoring blocks, non-censoring blocks. And this person here, Barton Kopelman, was talking about this is basically the validator's fault. The validator is agreeing to allow some of this information, allowing some of this scrutiny. And that's what's causing the loss of the private aspect of what the blockchain was intended to do. I'm talking the difference between data that's just transacted versus the who's, the what's, the why's, the where's, etc. And so there's a lot of criticism about this. I think it's a big problem, yes, but I don't think it's something that you have to worry about in the short term. We have to look at the November results, see if we get a blowout, because if we get a blowout, I think you're going to see a pullback of some of that because they're just as freaking greedy as you are. If we don't get the blowout that we expect, and we've already seen inklings in some of the primaries, we have seen that some people are losing their seats. And that's good, I think, because if we want cryptocurrency to succeed, we can't have the current people that are in office because they're against it. That's my point. It's not about what side you're on. We have a certain set of people who support the economy and they want the economy fixed, and that includes cryptocurrency, and a certain set of people who don't, and they just listen to the Greta Thunbergs of the world, and they just want to do everything to try to make the planet green again. Well, guess what? In sneaking in those little regulations to try to make the planet green again are lockdowns on cryptocurrency because of energy uses. So I'm just telling you, November is going to tell us where we go with this. That's why I say it's not something short-term. It's a long-term problem, depending on what November looks like largely. Hopefully, we get to a point where we get back into some stability. Let me quickly talk about Terra LUNA Classic. There have been people who are really frustrated with Terra LUNA Classic. They don't know what the heck's going on with the freaking token. And I wanted to take just a brief moment to speak about it. I gave a video about Terra Rebels. This is back in the archives. I do encourage you to check it out. I said one thing, and that is manage your hopium. And that was a long time ago. That was way before where we're at now. I said manage your hopium. People didn't listen to Leicester like they should probably do, but I said manage your hopium. Manage your hopium primarily means I'm not telling you it won't work. I'm not telling you it will. I'm saying manage your hopium and just let time pass because they don't know what's going to happen. They're trying things. They're spitballing. They're trying and hoping that something's going to fix this absolute catastrophe of a situation that we're dealing with here. So you likely have heard about things like this. I heard of USTN, and we're going to burn this, but not this. And we're going to fix this, but not this. And we're going to repeg this and not this. And we're going to do Bitcoin back in the business and this other type of stable coin that's not really a stable coin. And it kind of has flexibility to go up and down because we can't freaking control the thing because we don't want to peg it to the US dollar because there's too much fucking money. Sorry. So that's what that is, right? And it's causing people to be sketchy and nervous and hesitant, and they don't know what's happening here. I understand. That's why I said manage your hopium. Don't go into Luna Classic. If you're going to consider it, don't go into Luna Classic wanting to be a millionaire. I can't stress it enough. And I understand the temptation because there's so many influencers out there who are talking about it on a constant basis, and they're giving you, in my opinion, false hopes about where it's going to go. Nobody really knows. And I don't know how many times I got to say, nobody really knows what's going to happen with this business. Manage your hopium. If you choose to go in it, make sure it's money you're okay losing. Because even if, let's say that they can't recover the thing, it's going to go down. Will it stay down? Nobody knows, but it's still an impermanent loss, right? You don't know. We don't know. So if you're going to go in it, just manage your hopium. Don't go in trying to be a millionaire. Understand the total amount of money you're willing to risk, because that's what it is, if you're going to go in. You're either going to work and it gets to a thing or you're not. If it sounds like a freaking lottery ticket, like I talked about Gockstein, idiot, that's what it is. That's essentially what we're talking about here. We're talking about lottery tickets with blockchain. It's either going to win or it's not. The theory is that at some point in a future state, it's going to have increased value. So then these people talked about, well, is it going to get to a point of like a penny or 2 cents? You may have even heard some influencers talk about, and I'm sure you saw the garbage thumbnails, of the whatever, and it's going to go to $1. Not only is it clickbait, it's garbage, because I said it's not impossible, it's highly improbable, as in the dollar. They're trying to get to 10 billion coins total. Can they do that? Yes. When? Who the frick knows? If they do, though, 10 billion coins, then yes, $1 is absolutely a possible thing. Absolutely. Because at that point, that's not that high of a market cap. It's higher than certainly where it is, but it's not unusual. It's not unreasonable. I'm saying it's highly improbable. Highly improbable. The reason in that video I said it's because you still have whales sitting on major bags, not the exchanges. I'm talking regular traders, investors sitting on major bags. They're going to sell off to recoup losses. That's what they're going to do. And that's what they should do. That means it's really hard for it to get positive pressure unless you have significant buy pressure in concert with the sells that are happening. And nobody knows if we're going to have it or not. So they were asking, well, is it going to hit basically 2 cents, 3 cents, 1 cent? I say a penny is perfectly realistic. Absolutely. I think a penny is perfectly realistic. Question is when? Well, in what they were talking about, a number of things have to perfectly happen in order for it to get anywhere close to a penny. You've got to have strong buy pressure. Strong buy pressure cannot just come from hopium, from shill hype. It's got to come from fundamentals. There's chatter around getting more people, more developers to build on the Terra Classic blockchain. Even the ones that have jumped ship to the new one when Do Rugpool, aka Do Kwon, essentially coerced them to jump to this new Luna Shiny. There's still kind of this, well, we could also build on this other one over here. The question is whether they'll do it. Nobody knows if they will. That's, again, it's a question mark. The burn is a question mark. The tax is up in the air. Now they're saying, well, maybe the tax wasn't a good idea. Maybe we should drop the tax. Well, there's other people that say, no, the tax should actually be higher. I'm of the opinion that taking the tax too high is a disincentive to actually using the thing. I'm not even a fan of having a persistent tax. I would rather have taxes that we know are going to have value. Basically, I would only do a tax anytime you are selling the token. I wouldn't do a tax when you're just buying it. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I understand why they felt they had to, because the supply is still out of control. I'm saying that for me, personally, I would only have done a tax anytime there's a direct sell of the token, as in it goes back out of the circulating supply. I would tax those. I would do a tax on those. I would do a tax on any fees that the exchanges do. Anytime that it's something that's not a disincentive to buying into the token. However, I'm not part of that team and they're not going to listen to me, and that's fine. So now the estimation is that, yes, by basically in the next 3 years, 4 years, there's no reason people think it can't get as high as a penny and possibly even 2 cents. I think that's very possible. And some people think that if you start looking at 10-year out, that yes, it could get to $1. It could get even to $5. I think $5 is stretching it. Is it possible? Sure, just highly improbable. So if you've been watching on the sidelines and you're trying to wrap your head around it, I'm not giving you any of those garbage thumbnails or garbage predictions or any of that stuff. All I can tell you is that based on what they're trying to do, nobody really knows because they're just trying stuff. Nobody has a definitive. They're trying things that they're not sure are will or will not work, number one. Number two, big picture, we're going to have to look and see what's going to happen with all the different things, the November deal, the Russia-Ukraine situation, inflation, all of these things that are impacting something. The Bitcoin situation, we have to look at that because it's still having some issues. There's all these different things getting in the way. Nobody really knows. That's the bottom line. of what I'm trying to say there. Now, let's talk about UST, as in UST Classic. Binance, as in the exchange, added USTC to the borrowable assets. So in this case, the ability to borrow. So when you're talking about lending cryptocurrency, which is something that you can do in some of the exchanges. Now, the question, because I'm in the United States, I cannot get to Binance.com. The question on this business is, when we talk about this as a use case or utility or some benefit to what we're talking about, is there going to be any sort of significant burn or anything else happening as a result of this? I don't know that there will be. I'm saying that if you're in the Binance exchange, you now apparently are able to borrow USTC. And we'll have to see what that means. If they do anything to support it, I don't know. We've already seen CZ Binance basically screw you, saying that they were going to do a thing and then back out of it. So I don't really trust the guy. I'm saying at least it's something. At least it's better than what we had. And I don't know where we go from there. I'm just calling it out for what it is. I'm going to wrap up talking about two projects specifically. Number one is this EverRise situation. And if you have information, I'd love to hear it. That's one. Two is around Libero. And I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. So first up, let's talk about this EverRise business. If you're not an EverRise, EverRise has this NFT staking utility. And what it does is you can take your tokens, you can stake them into EverRise, and you can mint an NFT that represents that stake. It will still then show your token amount and value in your wallet. So like other stakes, you're giving it to that service. Here, the tokens are locked. They truly are locked, but they're locked within the NFT. You can lock it for a period of time, and you can say, all right, cool, for however many tokens that you add. So you get a different type of fish over here based on how much you're willing to whale into the darn thing. And then you can change the color based on how long. So you have different colors: amber, emerald, ruby, sapphire, rising, which I think is terribly ugly. I'm a big fan of the dark because it represents the EverRise color scheme. I'm a big fan of emerald because one of my favorite colors as a kid was always green. I'm a big fan of diamond simply because I think it looks cool. And ironically, I'm a big fan of obsidian because it's whatever. So all this, you build the NFT and then it adds to your business. And then as part of the V, so this is the V3, is EverRise. What they did is they said for the liquidity that's remaining from the V1, I'm pretty sure it's V1, liquidity, we're going to distribute it to all the people who hold EverRise. And so there's this distribution widget. And the way it works is you connect your wallet and there's a distribution of EverRise. And this is on each chain. So they've got Polygon, Phantom, Avalanche, Ethereum, Binance. Pretty sure it's just those five. Let's see. Binance, Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche. I'm pretty sure it's just those. So each one has a different claim thing, and it does a countdown, and it's usually some BS time of the day, like, 6 o'clock in the morning or, 2:40 in the afternoon. It's some crazy number Pacific time. And so I've never done it because of the off rocker times. Well, one of these times it was right when I woke up and it would have been like 10 minutes out. So I waited the 10 minutes and said, okay. And this is on the Polygon chain. Okay. So I wait, 3, 2, 1. And then this button lights up and you click it and it does a transaction for the gas. Okay. So I do that. Nothing happens. Okay. That's kind of weird. And then I see that the transactions failed on the coin, which usually means that they did not calculate the amount of gas correctly. Okay, so I think it's probably just the Polygon chain. Maybe there's something wrong with Polygon at that time. So I go to the Binance chain because I've never had issues with that. I do transactions on Libero when I'm getting rid of bank stuff, and it'll tell me it'll fail, but it has never failed on Libero's side or the Thorium exchange. I've never had it fail on the Binance. So I do the same thing. I go in, and this was earlier, I go in, it's doing the countdown, and that distribution, it's like $200 worth of freaking EverRise. So I'm like, all right, fine. Because I want to see how it works so I can report it to you guys. 3, 2, 1. I click the button, tries to do it, fails. I've never got it to work. One of two things is happening here. And if it's the first one, it means it's a bit of bait and switch because it's not what they said. Either number one, it's kind of like this gamble where it's only going to reward whoever clicks the button fastest. If so, I consider that somewhat scammy behavior and really pisses me off because of the time difference, right? There's no way you can't click this button until it chooses to light up. So how do I know that it's lighting up for all of us at the same time? Could be that somebody else that lights up faster, they've already claimed it and they're off, and then mine lights up because their tool was too stupid. I'm saying if that's the case, I consider that scammy behavior. Or number two, they're simply calculating the gas wrong to where I can't get that button to work. Now, what I would have rather they'd done is simply say, we're just going to distribute it to you guys. You don't have to claim it. You don't have to ask. We're just going to distribute it to you guys. And we'll lock it as an NFT. So when we do a distribution, we're basically going to give you an NFT, and then don't do it once a day, maybe do it once a week or something, right? So you do the first NFT, and then you just simply do an increase of that NFT. So it just grows and grows and grows in NFT, and then lock it for 2 years or something. Because that way you're rewarding people without and they could, you can sell out, but you get a penalty fee. But you're rewarding people without them having to play this BS game that doesn't freaking work. Now, the EverRise team refuses to talk to Leicester. That's fine. I've reached out to them multiple times. They refuse to talk to me. That's cool. I even went to their Reddit, and the admins there are really cool people, and they said, no, we'll get you in touch with them. Never heard anything because the EverRise people, I think, are just whatever, BS. It's the one complaint I have about them. They don't want the smoke. I like everything about the projects, but I don't like that. Well, when I saw this, that's number one. I was not happy about that. The second thing I saw was in the EverSwap now. EverSwap is their swapping utility. First of all, this is all V3 stuff. They changed the apps. There's a V1, a V2 app rather, and then V3 apps. V3 app doesn't give you access to EverOwn, EverLock, all the other utilities that are there. You have to go to the other one, but they don't link you to it, which is stupid. But on EverSwap, the problem is the calculation is jacked up because if you try to do, let's say, USDC and you had a fractional amount of it, and you try to do the transaction, it'll fail because it wants you to round to a certain number of decimal places based on the way the token's built, and the tool doesn't do that. So that was pissing me off. So now I've got this NFT garbage happening. I've got that happening. In the NFT stake, you have to change the network each and every time because I have a NFT stake on each and every chain because I want to watch it, right? And then compound rewards. When you change the network, it doesn't change your NFTs. It doesn't change the network downstream. So you have to actually refresh the freaking page every time to get it to show up. Really bizarre. They had a Battle of D-Apps thing. Apparently, there was never communicated, never broadcast. I never saw it, never got anything for it. So I'm starting to see this pattern where it feels like they're not doing any improvement development on any of this stuff. And I don't know what's going on because they were on a really good path and really good momentum. Then I started to see a bunch of dumps, a crap ton of dumps happening all over the freaking place of crazy amounts of it that I'd never seen before. And now I'm starting to wonder, is there something behind the dumps because of the fact that it seems like they lost steam? They're not doing what they were doing. I still love the utilities. I think it's a great project, but for whatever reason, they're just not showing up like they used to. And I don't know what's happened. And I'm asking if anybody's listening, it's in EverRise, that goes to their telescam or whatever. If you know anything about what the heck's going on, I'd love to hear it because I have no idea. All I can tell you is the utilities that are there feel buggy as all get out, and I don't know why that is. So I'd like to know what the heck's going on there. I don't know. So now let me just go Libero real quick and just show you what I'm talking about here. Because I noticed this and I just figured I'd bring it up at the closeout. So in the miner for Libera miner, I noticed that they after the V2, they changed the terms on some of this. So I figured I'd call it to attention. This largest depositor prize, right? They changed the terms. So what they did is they said you have to deposit more than the largest. And if you notice, this little image gets in your freaking way. Let me see if I can block him. There. So you have to deposit more than the largest depositor and at least half of the prize. This part here is new. So what it's saying is that not only do you have to be the largest depositor, it always has to be half what the prize is. I consider that shady as all hell, ladies and gentlemen, because before I called out that you could get it was a decent deal because, like, okay, if you deposit a small amount, you could get a pretty good amount of win. This business here probably came because they noticed that people were gaming the system, that they didn't need to significantly invest in this business. They could just simply invest the lowest amount and win a crazy amount in their accumulate. Well, that's how they built it. So what's the problem? The fact that they added this, and by the way, they did not add this on the thorium side, only on the Libero side. The fact that they added this after the fact, then down here it says, well, if you don't do the half, well, then we'll give you half of what you put in. So let's say that the largest deposit was $500. You're not going to get this $2,000. You're going to get $250. I'm sorry, but I consider that very sketchy, very shady, and frankly BS because they changed it. I don't know if they announced it in the telescam or something, but because they don't update their websites like a damn, they didn't tell you, we changed the terms on this depositor prize because we're running out of money, because that's basically what the only reason that they would do it is they're running out of money. People are essentially able to game it because that's how they built it. Then they introduced this lottery prize. Okay, well, that's fine. You get tickets for each deposit, and mind you, it's deposit as in money you put in versus, and they used to have, I don't see it here, they used to have based on your compound. So if you compound for every 10, you got one ticket. I don't see that here. It was here early this morning. So either they removed that already because they're running out of money, because the only reason you do this is you're trying to get more deposits in the damn thing. I said that the whales are done with this business. So, then there's this time pool deposits. So you are seeing significantly more deposits. And then this thing is the whole 40 business. So if I look at the rewards, the last time anybody won anything was 3 days ago. And that's because there's more and more deposits happening. Of course, it's not significant amounts. The point is they've changed stuff. They've changed stuff around. And now even this basically requires that you put in half of the win it now to get that. So everything is half of whatever they're offering, as opposed to what it was before, where I thought it was a much better deal. I figured I'd just call that out. Total deposited, 1.7 million-ish. The balance remaining is 1.1 or 1.2 million. And that's because number claimed is 500,000. So similar to drip, basically there's not enough money flowing into it. And now you're starting to see an increase in what's flowing out. People they're not giving more money in unless it's the one-off whale. They assumed, and the way it's built is that you'd have significantly more going into it, that this number would be significantly higher than what it is. They're running out of money because people are not depositing. That's why they made these changes, just to call that out there. I'm going to shut up now and see if anybody has any questions as I wrap up here, because we're right at the 9 o'clock hour. Anybody any questions in the chat while I go ahead and check on Twitch? All right, looks like we're caught up on all sides. If something comes up later after the fact, feel free to leave them in the comments below the video after this publishes. Thank you for those that dialed in live. Thank you for those that came after the fact. We'll be back again next weekend, same time, same channel pretty much, for a little bit more weekly coverage. I'm going to be working hard on Triad stuff today for the remainder of the day, but I will be checking comments. Reminder that those are filtered due to various spammers of different kinds. So they may be filtered out, at least initially, until I get through all of the garbage and get to your question, but I will get you answers. Until next time, thank you. Take care.